Hello and welcome to the Understanding Narcissists YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me. This video is going to address a question that I've been getting a lot. It's a very good question. It's a very interesting question. And I will attempt to answer it as best I can. And it essentially has to do with how narcissists interact with each other. Every interaction, relationship I've talked about up to this point has been between narcissists and their enablers. And that is because it is relevant and really the most useful thing to talk about, especially as introductory material. And so I kind of want to point out that while this concept is useful, the narcissists with other narcissists question, even if it's just kind of like a thought experiment, it may not have a lot of utility. It may not be a terribly powerful idea and that benefits your life in the same way as the other material does, in my opinion. That being said, it's kind of contextual because if you are in a situation where narcissists are interacting with each other and you want to know what's going on or how it affects you and yada, 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 or if it's just a minor interest, it is extremely useful to know how they interact. But that context, that situation doesn't really arise that often. And even when it does, I don't see really a whole lot of use in being aware of narcissist to narcissist relations kind of thing. But nevertheless, it actually is very useful, especially when you witness it. And I also want to say that I may be hard-pressed for answers on this topic to some degree, but I may have some things to share that you'll hopefully at least find of interest. And the first thing I want to say is that narcissists, as you may have wondered before, they're awfully aware of the properties within people, within us, and how they can use them to their advantage, how they can manipulate them, how they can use us, essentially. And I think that's where that question comes from. What happens when a narcissist encounters another narcissist? Well, I do want to say, in my opinion, that it's pretty immediate as far as recognition. From what I can tell, narcissists know when someone is another narcissist. They seem to understand the dynamic and the relationship. And so for the most part, you don't get situations where they're together on a regular basis, or even if they are, let's say in a professional setting, they're not really interested in manipulating each other necessarily. There is still the one-upmanship aspect and competitive controlling aspect of the interaction like they have with enablers, but there is no supply. There is no potential for a narcissist to serve another narcissist because it relies on a bunch of things that have to be present in enablers that are simply not present in other narcissists. So there's that polarity thing going on. It simply doesn't work the same way, and it can't work. And what's probably most interesting to note is that narcissists, from what I can tell, notice that fact immediately. That is immediately clear to them that someone else is a narcissist. Now, I want to point out, too, that narcissists don't think of themselves as narcissists, not in the way that I've described them. I'm not sure to what extent they're aware of their issue or whatever it is. Actually, I would go so far as to say that they don't perceive it as an issue, but they do see themselves as different. They do recognize that they're different from the general population. So when they come across other narcissists, what is the dynamic? What is the result? Well, there's a few settings where it does happen. The first natural setting is in the family, which there can be multiple narcissists. That is going to exhibit, from what I can tell, the more competitive controlling aspect without trying to get supply from each other. But it also includes another portion that is strange, which is the uneasy alliance that narcissists can sometimes form to achieve common goals. Now, this is not as simple as it sounds because narcissists don't really cooperate. They don't really work together. It's kind of a mutual illusion thing. So if, let's say in a family, narcissists want to have the image of a perfect family, and naturally that's going to extend to the family they were born into. Well, they will work together to that extent in order to achieve that image. However, they're also going to undermine each other in the process because only one narcissist can be perfect. Only one can harbor an illusion. And so the whole mutual illusion thing doesn't really pan out in the long term. So I wouldn't even call it cooperation. There is a mutual interest, but ultimately it falls apart and it's not something that can pan out and be successful. So then we get to alliances of narcissists, like two narcissists marrying each other. That's a question I've gotten before too, and I used to think that could happen, or I used to think I'd seen that before, but now I'm not so sure I have. And the problem is the problem arose with the flexibility of enabling behavior, the enabler's behavior. And that is that sometimes enablers take on traits of narcissistic traits, without being narcissists themselves. And so they'll have an outward appearance of being narcissistic. And so with their partner, so you think there's two narcissists, but really one is an enabler, and one is employing narcissistic traits on other people, employing narcissistic methods, behaviors on other people to control them for the benefit of the illusion in the narcissist, because they're supposed to do that, but they're not really narcissists. But they do have a stake in the illusion, and so therefore it can appear somewhat like they're narcissists because they're being narcissistic. Again, they're not the narcissist, though. So that's where then you come to the rest of the situations that you can conceive of, or if you've experienced them, which is narcissists encountering other narcissists. Well, this is pretty simple because for the most part, nothing happens. Narcissists don't like other narcissists. Narcissists have nothing to gain from being around other narcissists. So therefore, it's just kind of like I said, it's kind of a polarity thing. They just kind of repel each other. If they're forced to be around each other, they're just going to avoid. There's no point, and they'll understand that. So they're in that kind of interaction. Say they avoid each other. That's kind of a mutual benefit. There's no point to it. It's useless, and that makes sense if you've listened to my previous videos where you see that they've always got their finger on something. They're always looking for more people. They're always, they're casting a very wide net. They welcome all comers. Everybody who is willing to put up with them is really how it works, because that's going to qualify them to being controlled. If you put up with them, hey, they're going to welcome you in further. And then that's when a lot of the illusion rolls out and you start believing all kinds of things that simply aren't true. And then you say, hey, is something wrong here? And then you think, oh no, it's going to get better. That's just a general trait of dysfunctional relationships. Anyway, but with narcissists, it's really ramped up. They really capitalize on that. So narcissist to narcissist interactions kind of take place in their own microcosm that you may not even notice unless you're kind of tuned into it. And then why be tuned into it? There's not a whole lot to gain. It's an interesting idea. And if you're aware of it and you're able to identify narcissists to some degree, yeah, it's going to happen. There's more narcissists than I would hope. Unfortunately, I guess you'd hope that there'd be none of them, but I hope it proves to be useful. If it's not, I hope at least it was an entertaining video, if not a little informative. I hope you like this video. Like it if you do. Share it with somebody you think might benefit from it. Comment in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.